All right, this is the big breaking news coming in at the moment. Arraignment of Nicolás Maduro and his wife has now begun in the New York court. Remember, Maduro's son has vowed unconditional support for the interim leader, Delcy Rodriguez. Now, two big updates coming in as far as Venezuela is concerned. The arraignment is now, it has now begun. And of course, now we have Venezuela's George Rodriguez, who has been appointed as the head of National Assembly. So as we speak in New York, there is the arraignment of Nicolás Maduro, the deposed president of Venezuela, and his wife, Cilia Flores, that has begun at the Manhattan court. We've been getting you updates from there. Remember, 4 charges have been pressed against the couple, including that of narco-terrorism, possession of machine guns, import of cocaine into the United States, as well as sending all of that drugs to the United States. And simultaneously, in Venezuela, as we told you, there was a new legislative assembly that had been convened for the next 5 years. A new term had convened. And in that, Venezuela's George Rodriguez has been appointed as the head of the National Assembly. Remember, Delcy Rodriguez, the vice president after Nicolás Maduro, is set to be sworn in as the president as well. So simultaneously, these two things happening, and there's also parallelly the UN Security Council meeting happening, discussing the American action on Venezuela. So a lot that is happening on the legal front as far as Nicolás Maduro is concerned, as well as on the diplomatic front. As far as Venezuela is concerned, its political legislative assembly has now convened a new term, of which the head of National Assembly is George Rodriguez. Remember, he was the head of National Assembly under Maduro as well. And as United States takes control of Venezuela and said that we will govern the country till a suitable time, till it finds a leader to lead as president, we've got the Legislative Assembly, the National Assembly head being reappointed in George Rodriguez. Remember, Delcy Rodriguez, the woman in power after Nicolás Maduro and somebody who has been in talks with the United States of America. She is also set to be sworn in as the president. Of course, we'll have to wait and watch how that goes for the country. And as we speak, legally, remember, Nicolás Maduro and his wife, the trial, the arraignment has now begun in the New York courthouse. Let me go across to Susan Teherani. She's right outside the courthouse. Susan, get us the latest. I believe that trial has now begun.
Right, the arraignment has begun, and this is going to be a very fast process. Nicolás Maduro and his wife are going to have the charges read to them, and then prosecutors and lawyers are going to discuss how long they need to put the trial together, basically, and put the case together. I do want to say that we just learned minutes ago, as you mentioned, that the arraignment has started. And outside of the courtroom, behind me are the protesters and demonstrators. So, as you can hear, they're screaming. The minute that they also got the news that this arraignment has begun, sounds of cheers from the Venezuelan diaspora community were heard, and they started raising the Venezuelan flag and hugging one another. For many Venezuelans, this is a moment of truth. This is a very happy situation. Of course, just a few steps away, there are those who are saying hands off Venezuela, and they're opposed to this. But the cheers were very noteworthy. It just shows that not only does this have a narco-terrorism aspect to it inside of that courtroom on the part of the U.S. government and the Trump administration, but it also has so much meaning for Venezuelans who have such a great connection to home, whether they oppose or support the Venezuelan leader. And of course, not to mention the geopolitical aspect of all of this. But as the news is coming that Maduro is facing the judge, now we are hearing chants and the rising of the Venezuelan flag. I have a lot of cameras in front of me, but I'm going to try to show you some aspect of it. You can sort of see that their flags are up there. And also you can see that, people are cheering on the other side of the street. Not an ideal shot for you, but I do want to give you some color about how crowded it is. outside of here, how tight security is, and also how much coverage this is getting, of course.
Yes. Susan, ideal is perhaps the only thing that is not in the world at the moment. But, as we speak and as this arraignment begins, Susan, in the New York courthouse, there's also a simultaneous UNSC meeting that has been called to discuss American action against Venezuela. And what we're getting from reports is that United States is defending very strongly its action at this UNSC meet as well. What are you picking up?
The Security Council meeting did happen this morning, and it's ongoing because so many countries wanted an opportunity to speak at that emergency meeting called by Venezuela and supported by China and Russia as well. A grim-faced Venezuelan ambassador sat among his now still colleagues. Mike Waltz, of course, the U.S. ambassador, present as well, and also Rosemary DiCarlo, which is the U.S. Secretary General's advisor. As well. So UN officials alongside the ambassadors, and also countries like Iran, Cuba, requesting to have a say in that meeting. It's very timely. The Security Council does have a lot of tools in its tool chest to deal with this issue. The question is whether or not there is a will on the council, and especially those veto-wielding powers that sit at the council, if they can at all do anything. Remember, not only the United States, but a lot of Western countries didn't consider Maduro to be the
Susan,
lawful
as we
leader
speak, we are also
Venezuela.
getting live updates from what actually is happening inside this New York courthouse. And let me read this for our viewers. Nicolás Maduro has pleaded not guilty in the narco-terrorism case, is what we're getting to know. There is also reports coming in of Maduro saying that I have the indictment in my hands for the first time and I prefer to read it personally. I am the president of Venezuela. I consider myself a prisoner of war. I was captured at my home in Caracas. So that is the latest that we are getting as far as these proceedings are there. Remember, the arraignment at the New York courthouse has now begun. And what Nicolás Maduro, the deposed Venezuelan president, is saying at the moment is that, one, he's pleaded not guilty in the narco-terrorism case that has been pressed against him by the Trump administration. Number two, he says, I am the president of Venezuela. I consider myself a prisoner of war. I was captured at my home in Caracas. So Nicolás Maduro being defined, he's not succumbing to or accepting the charges that have been pressed against him. He's saying, I am innocent, I'm a decent man, I am president. Let me go back to Susan. Susan, Nicolás Maduro, of course, pleading not guilty in the narco-terror case that has been pressed against him. He's saying, I am still the president of Venezuela, even as the Trump administration tries him in some very serious charges that can lead to life imprisonment as well.